You know that feeling, right? You see a chart just packed with bars and numbers, and your brain kind of checks out. But what if I told you that every single one of those graphs is actually telling a story, a really fascinating one too, and all you need is the secret to reading it? Today, we're going to find that secret. So, let's just dive right in. And you know what? We're not going to start with something simple. We're going to look at a chart that seems pretty complicated, just to show you how powerful data can be when it's telling a story.
Okay, here it is. This is a pie chart that breaks down the kinds of health professionals who left the Philippines back in 2018. At first glance, it's just a bunch of percentages, nurses, doctors, dentists. But buried in these slices is this incredible story about skills, ambition, and the way talent moves around the globe. There's a story hidden in here for sure.
So, what is that story? What is this chart really trying to tell us? We are absolutely going to come back to this exact chart at the end. But before we can unlock its secrets, we need to get our hands on the right set of keys. First things first. Before you can even start to interpret a single bar or a line on a graph, you've got to ask a really basic question. Where did this information even come from? Because the answer, well, it changes everything.
So most of the charts and graphs you and I see every day, in the news and articles and reports, they're built using something called secondary data. All that means is that it's information someone else already collected. Think about census bureaus, big research organizations, or news outlets. They did all the hard work, and now we get to look at the results.
And that's really the key difference. Primary data is the stuff you go out and gather yourself, like doing a survey for a school project. Secondary data is when you use information that's already out there. Both are super valuable. But today, we're focusing on becoming experts at reading all that secondary data that's all around us.
So how does a big, kind of boring list of numbers get turned into a clear, compelling picture? Well, this is where the magic of data visualization really happens.
It all starts with something like this, a frequency table. This one's showing the number of different dog breeds in a city. You can see the numbers, 26 Labradors, 10 pugs, and so on. I mean, it's accurate, but it's not very easy to understand at a glance, is it? You have to read every single line to figure out what's going on. And boom! Here's that transformation. That plain table of numbers becomes this awesome bar chart. Instantly, without even reading a single number, you can see that Labradors are the most popular breed here. That right there is the power of turning boring old data into a visual story.
Okay, now we're at the core of it all. I'm going to walk you through a simple, but honestly, incredibly powerful 3-step framework that you can use to decode any graph you ever see again.
And here it is. What's so amazing about this is just how simple it is. You don't need to be a math whiz or do any complex analysis. Just remember these 3 steps. First, read the labels. Second, spot the trends. And third, question the story. That's it. So, let's put it to the test. All right, theory is great and all, but let's actually put this into practice. We're going to take our new 3-step method and apply it to a graph you might see any day, in a report or some local news story. Okay, so here we have a bar graph showing students' favorite after-school activities. We're just going to walk through our 3 steps, labels, trends, and story to see what we can find. Think of this as a quick warm-up.
Step 1. Read the labels. Okay, the title is crystal clear. Students' favorite after-school activities. And the bottom axis tells us we're looking at the number of students. Easy. We've got our context now.
Step 2. Spot the trends. Just by looking at how long the bars are, what immediately jumps out at you? We're just looking for the highest point and the lowest point. Your eyes are probably drawn right to the longest bar, which represents 99 students. That is the clear peak in this data. And that bar corresponds to visit with friends. So the first obvious trend is that just hanging out with friends is by far the most popular thing to do for this group. Now, let's look at the other end of the scale. The shortest little bar on the graph represents just 22 students. That's our low point.
And that smallest number lines right up with school clubs. So our second major trend is that school clubs are the least popular option here.
And finally, step 3, form the story. We just combine what we found into a quick little narrative. The data shows a really clear preference for informal social stuff over the more structured things. And that's it. That's the story this graph is telling. Pretty simple, right? Okay. That was a good warm-up, but the real power comes from using this framework on something that looks a little more intimidating. It's time to keep our promise. Let's go back and finally unlock the story in that very first chart we looked at. All right, here it is again. Let's use our 3 steps. Step 1, labels.
The title says Percentage Distribution of Deployed Filipino Health Professionals by Occupation, so we know we're looking at percentages of different jobs. Got it. Step 2. Trends. I mean, what's the biggest slice of the pie here? It's nursing professionals, at nearly 60%. It absolutely dwarfs the next biggest slice, medical doctors, which is only 12%. So step 3. Form the story. The story here isn't just that health workers are leaving the Philippines. No, the real story is that nurses are leaving in overwhelming numbers, almost 5 times more than doctors. This reveals a massive specific brain drain from the nursing profession, and that has huge implications, not just for the healthcare system in the Philippines, but for all the countries that now depend on these skilled workers. See? Once you have the keys, even a complex-looking chart tells a really clear and powerful story.
And that, right there, is your new superpower. Being able to read a graph isn't just about numbers. It's about decoding the world around you. It means you can understand the real story behind the news headlines, you can see through misleading claims, and you can make smarter decisions for yourself. You now have the tools to unlock all the stories hidden in the data that surrounds us every single day. So the only question left is, what hidden stories are you going to uncover first?